My name is Alexis, if you don't already know, and if you haven't read the title already, today I'm going to be reacting to why everyone thinks Larry Bird is the toughest player in NBA history. I've never seen this video before, so I feel like it's about to get bloody, maybe like some elbows thrown. I don't know. I don't really know what to expect. But before we get into this video, be sure to subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, and leave a comment if you want to. And let's go ahead and get into the video.
We've all heard the stories about Kobe Bryant, and most of us have actually seen with our own eyes how incredibly tough the guy was. Trying to play on a freshly sprained ankle to wheel the Lakers to the playoffs, winning the championship with a fractured finger, he's got a great case for being the toughest player in NBA history. But then there's Larry Bird, and many people don't know it, but he might have been equally as tough, if not tougher than Kobe Bryant when it came to pain tolerance. Bird was such a warrior that he often didn't even like to let the team staff know he was hurt. That is until later in his career when his back had deteriorated to an unbearable point. And because Bird was such a warrior, today I want to tell you guys 4 crazy stories about Larry Bird's insane level of toughness. What's up, NBA fans? Dom2K on the mic, and you've probably seen the shots of Larry Bird torturing himself later in his career when his back was forcing him into retirement, but you might not know what allowed him to deal with that pain in the first place. It turns out
he don't need to play football.
Even before
I'm glad he chose basketball because he would have been done.
Played a game with the Celtics, he actually had his knuckle shattered by a baseball that put his professional career in jeopardy.
Wow.
But because he's Larry Bird and Larry Bird is from a different planet, he was able to put together a top 10 NBA career despite not ever having the same shooting touch before he shattered his knuckle. Wrap your mind around that for a second. Larry Bird accomplished everything he did in his career, and he said out of his own mouth that he never had the same feel for the basketball after the knuckle injury.
Wow.
But as it turns out, that's just an appetizer compared to what he'd endured throughout his career. Let's jump into it. Number 4, hole in the face. I figured we'd start off with something crazy we've seen
before.
Hole
in the face.
Remember when Russell Westbrook fell down after his free throw and got a hole kicked in his jaw? Yeah, that left a lot of us wondering if Westbrook was actually android a human because he got up, moved his mouth around a little bit, and finished up what was left of the game. Luckily for him, that was only about 1 second of game time. However, it turns out that 33 years earlier, Larry Bird actually had already accomplished his superhuman feat, and surprisingly, he did Westbrook one better. I originally thought there wasn't footage of this on YouTube, but I'm so thankful there was because you need to witness how brutal this was. In a 1982 game against the Milwaukee Bucks, Larry Bird drove left to the basket and tried to bank in a routine jump shot. It clanked off the rim, Bird went up to rebound his own miss, and was violently elbowed by power forward Harvey Catchings. Where Westbrook's injury was an accident by his own teammate that didn't even look too bad initially, it's a bit difficult to look at this footage and say it wasn't on purpose, and you actually cringe a bit when you see how hard the shot was. The elbow practically knocked Bird out and left him lying on the floor for several minutes as he looked seriously injured. From what I can tell in the tape, the injury appeared to happen before the end of the third quarter because Larry Bird went back to the locker room and came back out before the period had ended. In the fourth quarter, playing with what we now know was a fractured zygotic arch, Bird would score 8 more points, including a poster dunk, 2 assists, adding some defense and hustle plays, as he was even shoved out of bounds during one of the possessions. His efforts led the Celtics to a narrow win, as he finished with 16 points, meaning he scored half of them with a fractured arch in crunch time. And even though we can't see it on the grainy 80s footage, Bird's jaw was depressed inward the same way Westbrook's was. After Larry left his heart on the floor for his team, he was sent to the hospital where doctors had to drill a hole into the side of his face and insert a medical tool to pop his zygotic arch back out. If social media had been around with clear footage back in these days, this performance would probably be a lot more famous. We were shocked to see Westbrook standing on his own with a hole in his face. Imagine watching Larry Bird play an entire extra quarter while leading his team to the win. Number 3, just give me a beer. It's understandable that Larry dealt with injuries like back problems and broken bones in the face. Those things just tend to happen when you're crashing into the floor and whatnot. But when Larry Bird had a toe infection, it really seemed like somebody was just testing how much he could take before he finally sat out a game. In the year 1985, Bird reportedly had a serious pain going on in his toe for 3 weeks that he played on, and he wouldn't bother to get it checked out because, again, he didn't like to let anybody know he was hurt. Finally,
boy, you better go get that checked out.
Foot, to which it would be found that Bird had a toe infection that would require his toe to be cut so the infection could drain. The doctor insisted that Bird take a shot of Novocaine to ease the pain because the infection was actually between his toes, which was was obviously going to hurt a lot. And then Bird responded, just give me one of those beers over there. So he used that as his pain medication. The doctor cut 2.5 inches into his toe to let the infection drain.
He like pain. He gotta like pain because baby, give me the Novocaine.
Unfortunately, I can't find any kind of information on when this game was, who it was against, or anything like that. And I can't even see how he performed. But when he got done with the game, the wrap was obviously soaked in blood, and he was in considerable pain during the game. If it's anything like the other ridiculous games Bird had after some kind of injury that should have had him,
like I said in one of my other videos, Brent was due.
But the fact that he played with a 2.5-inch cut into his toe with no pain meds is impressive enough for me. Number 2, double vision. A lot of people can't even shoot when there's just one basket sitting still, so imagine trying to play in a professional game when you fractured your eye orbiter and you're seeing 2 baskets. Now, the injury itself sounds pretty comparable to what Derrick Rose had not too long ago.
D. Rose, that's my guy.
Rose got hurt before the season and was able to get his problems to a manageable point before playing in a real game. Bird, however, would not be so lucky. In a 1988 game against the Cavaliers, Bird was on fire, having scored 13 points in the first quarter. But when he spun away from Craig Elo with a clear lane to the basket, Del Curry, of all people, would rotate and hit Bird with a violent elbow to the side of his face. Kind of ironic that before Del was raising the greatest shooter of all time, he was apparently trying to take out the best one of his generation.
Exactly. They were trying to do him dirty. That's why he getting hurt so much.
That again kept him on the floor for minutes. He went on to the locker room for treatment, came back out like he had done 6 years earlier, only this time he would score 18 more points to put the finishing touches on a 31-point game. That included 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and 4 steals on 11 of 20 shooting. But the stats weren't even the most impressive part. According to Larry, he played the rest of this game with double vision, and as he described it, he saw 2 baskets for the rest of the game, leaving him to guess which one he had to shoot at. But that's not the best part either. Not only did he light Cleveland up, but
I wonder if he like airballed any of these, like, because I know it's showing like the best of him, but I wonder if he ever airballed any of them.
You know, double vision doesn't go away after one game. As we've already established, if there was any other option than to sit a game out, that's what Bird was going to do. He ended up playing 4 more games with goggles that I'm not even sure anybody really knew he wore. And in those games, he scored 36, 30, 28, and 34 points. In typical Larry Bird fashion, he shot a staggering 55% from the field with that. Violent elbow, fractured eye orbiter, goggles, elite scoring, hitting on over half of his field goal attempts. Again, he's Larry Bird, and Larry Bird is from another planet. Just to add some gore to the story, apparently after the Cleveland game where he initially broke the orbiter, he noticed his nose bleeding after the game. He went to blow it, and his eye bulged out a bit. Just a typical day in the life of Larry Bird, I guess. Number 1. You hear all this talk about Celtic pride anytime we speak about the history, and Larry Bird contributed in big part to that as his career was wrapping up.
100%.
Possibly the most famous scene from the ending of his career is the one we've all seen. Larry was diving for
Baby,
goes crashing to the floor as his head bangs against it violently.
He gotta
just
be
lays there
careful.
as if his body couldn't take it anymore. Truth be told, it really couldn't. Bird was dealing with insane back issues by this point in his career, and it was through sheer determination that he was even playing by this point.
Hold up.
However,
Okay,
the
so
story behind
that shows me like his hustle. Like he was hustling for the ball, and like even the other clips that I've watched and stuff like that, this man has to get to the ball. He has to find the ball. He has to, you know, pass it correctly. Whatever he needs to do, he's going to get the ball. And so like he's playing football out there, and that's, man, like, and like if you so cold, the other team is going to want to hurt you, like. And all this is, man, this is brutal on his body.
Most of the way through the third quarter, the advantage was with the Pacers. When Larry asked the doctor for advice, he said he should be done for the day, but by this point, we all know Larry just wasn't built like that. He was still breathing, so he went back into the game with the
He was still breathing.
3, while they were being cracked over the head by Chuck Persons, I might add. With Bird back in the game, Boston would go on a ridiculous 33-14 run and went on to win the game by 3 points, sending the Pacers home for the playoffs.
Man.
Bird finished with 32 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists while shooting 63% from the field. But again, that's not the most shocking part of the story.
I freaking love him.
According to teammates like Robert Parrish, when Bird hit the floor, they weren't sure he was ever going to play again. Remember that this happened at the end of Bird's career, and after back surgeries and having to lay in a fiberglass brace for hours just to be well enough to play, some thought that the fall he took meant the end of his career. And it probably would have been if Larry Bird was from Earth, but instead he went out and put up one of the most memorable playoff performances of all time, the kind of performance that really makes you sad that his career was really cut short by injury. So there you have it. These were 4 crazy stories that prove Larry Bird was likely the toughest player of all time. The crazy part about it, after reading the book he wrote with Magic Johnson and researching a little bit, I could have easily told 10 or more. The truth that people don't really talk about in terms of Larry is that despite his amazing career, it was truly only a shell of what he could have been. As early as 1985, only 6 years into Larry Bird's career, he was already experiencing back issues that resulted from him doing concrete work around his house that he could have paid someone else to do. But that's just who Larry was, an incredibly hard worker that prided himself on being the same type of soldier his father was. Larry cherishes the story about his father when he came home one day from work and had a busted ankle. The next day, the ankle was so bad that Larry had to help him put the shoe on, and his father went right back to work. It was the kind of example that led Larry to play through the ridiculous pain he began to experience really only a short way into his career. Bird played a total of 13 of the most memorable seasons any NBA player could produce. But imagine one of our modern stars only lasting 13 years. LeBron is already on his 14th campaign, Durant is already on his 10th, but what if those guys only played at 13 though? That's just for perspective of what a flash Bird's career really was. And we're lucky that for that short amount of time, he had the high pain tolerance that he did. Because if he was actually human and sat out those games that anybody else would have sat out, we would have likely seen even less of him. So, in conclusion, I think Bird is proof that there is life outside of Earth, and we really are on our own. Somewhere out there is the planet Larry Bird came from, where there's extraterrestrial life that apparently doesn't feel any type of pain. Shatter their face, knock them out, just give them a few minutes, and they're right back on their feet ready to play. And if they're generous enough, maybe they're going to send another one like Larry to Earth to play in the NBA in the future. But if that doesn't happen, I'm very happy that Larry Bird was a part of NBA history.
Alright, you guys, so I'm gonna stop the video right there. Literally, Larry, oh man, so much about him. Like, just the pieces are just coming together. Like I said, I was going to do my history on Larry Bird, and just the fact of his father, like what type of person he was as a father. Like, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go to work, you know. Larry Bird just doing the work around his house. Like, you're a freaking millionaire and you're over here doing all this work around your house that you ain't got to do, lifting up heavy concrete. Like, I could just see him lifting up cinder blocks around his house, knowing that there's a million people that would literally gladly do it for him for free, if anything, you know. And so I think that just shows that he's a stand-up guy. Like, he's definitely, like the dude was saying in the video, definitely out of this world. I've been said that in one of my last videos. This man is like tough as nails. But be sure to subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, and leave a comment if you want to, and I will see you guys in the next video.